Spotlight is a production of CTNY, the Catholic Television Network of Youngstown. It seeks to spotlight people, places, and events from around the Diocese of Youngstown that promote the new gospel of joy called for by Pope Francis. Your program host is Father James Corda.
Hello and welcome to Spotlight. I'm Father Jim Corda. Today we're going to talk about the Catholic Lutheran Covenant. And joining me in today's discussion is Brenda Antenucci from Blessed Sacrament Church in Warren. Welcome to our show.
Thank you.
And also Pastor Bill Leitch, who is from the Living Lord Lutheran Church, also in Warren. It's nice to have you on the show today.
Good to be here.
I think when we get into our discussion about the Lutheran Catholic Covenant, obviously we'll share more information with the folks that are with us, but to set the stage, let's give a little history of that. When did it start? How did it start? And why did it start?
Well, my understanding of the covenant is that it started in the Youngstown Diocese between the Lutheran Church and Bishop Marcus Miller of the Lutheran Church and Bishop Thomas Tobin of the Youngstown Diocese in the year 2000. And that came after an important document was signed on the doctrine of justification, where that once separated our Lutheran and Catholic churches dramatically, and now has been signed a joint declaration of agreement on that main theological topic. And after that happened, then Catholic and Lutheran churches were invited into a discussion and formed a covenant of ways that we would work together, pray together, study together, and work toward unity with our two churches.
And I think I'd like to ask Pastor Leitch to talk some specifics about that. What has been your experience in the dialogue with Lutheran and Catholics as a result of the covenant that was celebrated?
I think that it has opened up a trusting relationship with all of us, that we feel comfortable in talking with one another and educating one another in our understandings, and to hear the other voice. And we hear the things that we agree on, and it's opened up the doors for other things that I've been invited to participate in, and so I think it's been a model.
One thing that I found interesting is I had an opportunity to speak with Bishop Allende of the Northeastern Ohio Synod, and we talked about the 500th anniversary in 2017 of the Protestant Reformation. And I think I used the word celebration, and he did too, but then he said, we're using the word commemoration instead. Why would you use that word commemoration, and why would it be important in contrast to the word celebration?
Well, the commemoration is to remember that time of reform and the discussions that Martin Luther wanted to have at that time. And to celebrate would be like celebrating some sort of a victory or whatever, but it's a turning point in our lives, and we're going back to that to inform us to continue to be in that conversation and to understand one another.
Brenda, in your experience with working ecumenically, what has been one of the best experiences that you had in this common dialogue, and what would you like to see that continue as, or how would you like to see that grow down in the future?
Well, when I started ministry at Blessed Sacrament 5 years ago, we were asked to host at our parish a discussion of Eucharist in regards to the Lutheran Catholic Covenant. And I was very excited about that because, when we got together with Lutherans and Catholics in that discussion, it became very clear that we're much more the same than we are different. And it kind of got that, for me, that was exciting. And I had attended, actually, Lutheran churches in college before I became Catholic. So it was, a topic that was very interesting to me. And then in Warren, I got to know Pastor Leitch through working on the human trafficking issue in Warren. And we obviously recognize that our faiths speak to many, many different issues that we can work together on. So any kind of dialogue like that and working together is part of what the covenant is, a big part of what the covenant is all about, to look for commonalities and ways that we can be together as a Christian community, not to focus so much on every little difference that we have, but to really learn to work and pray together and just kind of be united in a Christian front.
It's wonderful that the leaders in the two churches are doing that. What about the folks themselves? What about the congregants? How are they involved, and how do you encourage them to participate in this dialogue?
I think that we've had a lot of the lay leaders in our congregations who have stepped up and have been leaders in this, and I think they see God at work in our community, and we're in agreement there. So we see how God is calling us, and they come together as informed leaders, informed by their faith and going further. So I think they're excellent leaders of their faith.
Mm-hmm. Are there any specifics in the dialogue efforts that your two congregations have been involved with in preparation for the 500th anniversary of the Protestant Reformation? Anything that you've been talking about, or anything that you'd like to do together to commemorate that?
Well, first of all, we have already participated in a great activity called Lighting the Way, which brought congregants together in our different churches. So, one meeting was at the Lutheran Church, one meeting was at Blessed Sacrament, another meeting was at Christ Episcopal in Warren. So, getting people, into each other's churches is important. When we met together to kind of talk about how we wanted to share together, we're looking forward to possibly working on a mission trip together, an adult mission trip, that it would include members of the Lutheran churches in Warren and Blessed Sacrament, and possibly others, as people hear about it. So an ecumenical mission trip would be a really exciting way to, again, further show our unity and working together.
We're going to talk with some other participants in the dialogue, but we're going to take a quick break. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
I am Maryknoll. Je suis Maryknoll.
I am Maryknoll.
I believe that we are all connected to each other, and that is the gift of compassion that unites us and makes us one. It doesn't matter what language, culture, or tradition we come from. We can share compassion wherever we are.
Maryknoll, an American Catholic organization of priests and brothers, has been reaching out to those in need for nearly 100 years in 26 countries throughout the world. Maryknoll dedicates 86 cents of every dollar donated to their programs, and with your help, they can do more. Missioners, workers, volunteers, supporters, we are all Maryknoll.
I am Maryknoll.
Yo soy Maryknoll.
I'm Father Mike, and I am Maryknoll.
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 We are in our 7th year at Cristo Rey Jesuit High School. One of the things that's unique about this school is that our kids work 5 days a month at offices in downtown Chicago to pay for their education. We got telephone calls the first day thanking us for sending us those kids to their companies. 95% of our kids are the first ones in their families to finish high school, and 87% of our graduates are in college right now. No one believed that it would be as successful as it is. Well, it's obviously caught on, and we're very, very excited about it.
Welcome back to Spotlight. We're talking about the Catholic Lutheran Covenant. And joining me now is Pastor Anne Marie Winters from St. Paul Lutheran Church in Warren. Welcome to our show.
Thanks, Jim.
And also is Paula Pierce from Blessed Sacrament Church in Warren. Nice to have you on the show today.
Thank you, Father Corda.
You know, in our last segment, we briefly ended with talking about Lighting the Way, which is a special program that I believe is part of the dialogue, the fruits of the dialogue with the communities in ecumenical efforts and within the Catholic Lutheran Covenant. So tell us a little bit more about Lighting the Way and how is that celebrated and commemorated?
We started when we found in our churches that there was a real need for more information for seniors and their families on various aspects of senior life and care, health care and activities and so on. And so we got together around a lunch table and started to talk about the needs. Paula was there and Father Eisworth from Blessed Sacrament, Brenda Antenucci, and myself and Pastor Bill Leitch. And then we drew others into the process to brainstorm what sorts of topics would they like to hear about. And we went from there.
And tell us, Paula, a little bit more about some of those particular topics. And how did you come up with those topics? Was it because it was important to the communities that you're serving? Or is it something that came out of what's been going on in the community or in the world?
Some of it's been a combination of things, Father Corda. We've noticed in our community in general, but certainly in our churches, that our population is aging. And so we looked at that aspect of how we could help the folks who actually built our community by giving back to them a safe place to meet, to have information presented to them about making decisions for themselves, but also for the next generation of families to come to learn information that would be pertinent for their parents, but also inevitably for themselves. And so we found that the churches were a great place to collaborate leadership. We also resulted in contacting local service agencies in the community, as well as some of the assisted living and nursing facilities, to collaborate and decide what items were important, what issues became most important. And from there, we all decided which ones to select to present to families.
You know, when we talk about any kind of covenant or dialogue or communication, it's probably important for us to listen to one another. In your working together, have you found that listening has been an important facet of that as well?
I think that we learn to work together as colleagues, just like you would in any church itself. We've reached out across the neighborhood to each other, and we're listening to what skills do we each bring, what questions do we each have, and really put our minds to that task. We invited the social service agencies. The Area Agency on Aging, for instance, brought us Lisa Solly, and she was a wonderful speaker and brought the Navigator magazine to all the participants so they could see all the services available to them. We also had a session about insurance and Medicare, and we helped the participants to navigate Medicare.gov, which can be very challenging, as you can imagine. And we had a session where we had 5 lawyers and a judge come and talk about legal matters, everything that people needed to prepare themselves for decisions in later life, and how they might navigate estate matters and wills and those sorts of things. We also talked about hospice care and Alzheimer's care. And as well, we had a speaker from Shepherd of the Valley, Pastor Jim Brandis, who gave insights about spiritual care in later life, and also materials that one could use for funeral planning. And that was interesting because we all shared that in common.
Sure, yeah. And how important is it for us to kind of build on those things that we have in common as opposed to looking at those things that divide us? Isn't that important?
Very much so.
Yeah.
Yes, the populations in the community in general are aging, but also the need for resources is changing constantly. As well, the provision of resources seems to be changing as well. But it's all very confusing, and especially as we see families that are moving out of the area, sometimes the next generation of families is not available to help with the decision-making process that is very important. So in order for families to get authentic information, again, we thought it would be a safe environment if the churches were presenting the information in their own homes, but also just the fact that we met together, just the fact that we were united in the presentation of the information gave it an extra edge, I believe.
Now we want to talk, we just have a few minutes left of our middle segment about parish leadership and that involvement. You know, it's really important to have those leaders in the parish like yourselves to kind of lead the way, so to speak, in making sure that the covenant that was celebrated over a decade ago continues in its discussion, in its fruition. What do you do as leaders to involve other people as well?
I think that we communicate to the congregation at large what activities are going on and who we're working with from the different congregations. And we speak to them one-on-one about the relationships that have formed, the friendships that have formed, how easy it is to work together with other leaders in the other churches.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting that you mentioned that, because I've discovered that when you have that one-on-one relationship with people, they tend to understand and listen and appreciate more, instead of doing like a general flyer or a bulletin announcement or something like that that's more in general. But that one-on-one relationship, and it just basically harkens back to the Bible. That's how Jesus was. You know, that one-on-one contact and one-on-one relationship. We're down to the last few minutes of our time together. I'd like us to kind of close this segment with any information briefly that you'd like to share, Paula, on lighting the way or parish leadership or anything about the covenant.
Well, one of the things that started our conversation was actually the need that some family members had within our community. Our parish staff collaborated and extended an invitation to the local community leadership to be with us to talk about these things. So I think that was a challenge, just to invite one-on-one, and then also to take the opportunity, because the bottom line was that we wanted to have a leadership representation to move forward with a vital program. We look forward to presenting this program again very soon, should be this year. We celebrated Easter early, and so we've put our program on hold in order to give time to families to celebrate that time of the year. But we are looking forward at preparing this program again, and our evaluations that we had received from the 2015 program show that there was a need, there continues to be a need, and again, as resources change, we'd like to provide that information to our congregations.
We're going to talk more about that in a moment, but we're going to take a quick break. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
There is a place where a total stranger will give you their blood. There is a place where someone you never knew will save your child from drowning. A place where people from 7 states away will turn up at your door and give you food and shelter after a flood. There's a place where a person who doesn't look like you, talk like you, or dress like you will stretch out their hand and put it across your shoulders and say, everything is going to be okay. That place is called America, where we look out for each other, and it's up to us to keep it that way. When you help the American Red Cross, you help America.
Welcome back to Spotlight. We're talking about the Catholic Lutheran Covenant, and we welcome back to our show Pastor Anne-Marie Winters and Brenda Antenucci. We probably want to make sure that we let the folks know about the many different programs that you're involved with and that you're offering your congregations, and also as an encouragement for those that are with us, if they're not involved in any kind of ecumenical dialogue or relationship, that would be something that we would encourage. So tell us a little bit about some of those things that you continue to work on together to promote the covenant.
Well, as far as activities together, we're excited about an ecumenical World Mission Day, May 1st. A missionary that's Lutheran is coming up from a Jesuit mission in Panama to come to visit both Blessed Sacrament Church and Emmanuel and St. Paul congregations to give a presentation about the mission. And we would like to engage our members in supporting the mission and visiting it. And also, we've been talking about work with folks in generational poverty. And
as a matter of fact, I'm doing a program with Sister Pat McNicholas on generational poverty, and I recently did a program with Sister Janet Gardner from Beatitude House, and we spent some time talking about generational poverty. I have to be honest, as someone who I think is informed, was very uninformed about the issues that surround all that. And I think when we look at our own kind of lifestyles, how blessed we are in many ways, we don't think about that. But how important as people of faith that we really talk about those issues. And generational poverty is something that we could talk about, that we could work on and do something together. So what would be some of the things that you would be doing together to address that issue?
Well, recently we've been part of a book study group on Bridges Out of Poverty, which is a particular program. And when we look around the table, the people that are coming to that book study and putting their heads together to look for ways to really be effective in our community, most of the people around that table are from different faith backgrounds. And so it's been very exciting. And just in our conversation leading up to this presentation, I came to realize that Pastor Anne Marie had been working with people from MVOC and has started a website called Shepherd Connection, where they want to become actively involved in mentoring people that are having trouble finding jobs or getting into college or getting out of high school, just getting their GED. So when she came to that meeting, I think her eyes were open to another whole group in the community that has very similar concerns. And if she wants to talk a little bit more about that website and what the plans are for that. But again, it becomes exciting when you realize that everyone around the table, many come from different faith backgrounds. So it's wonderful to keep meeting up with these folks and looking for ways to bring about the kingdom of God in our community.
Right.
So,
Pastor, can you give us that website so the folks that are with us could go to that to get more information?
yes, it's www.shepherdconnection.com. And it's a website where you can connect either as a person who is looking for a mentor in their job search or in their need to go back to school for a GED or job training, anything related to education, employment, or financial management. Or you can also register on the website to be a mentor and volunteer to help someone to design a program for themselves where they can make success in their life a priority and find the steps to get there.
Mm-hmm. What's interesting, and I have to admit this, and I will do this on television, that whenever I do a program on ecumenical dialogue or when faith come together to discuss things, oftentimes the program is about faith issues and theological issues. This has been extremely refreshing that it's about social issues that really affect all of us, and how important it is, no matter what faith we are, that we come together to address those issues that affect all of us, whether we're Catholic, Protestant, Orthodox, Jewish, Muslim, whatever our faith background is. And I believe that building on those, at least in your community in Warren, is only going to be helpful to those people that you serve. And how important it is, we talk about those things that unite us. Social issues unite everybody because it affects all of us. And theological things we tend to get bogged down with. And it's more important to look at those, not that those aren't important, but to look at those social issues that we can really address and come together because we don't disagree on those. We emphatically and categorically agree on those. We're down to the last few minutes of our time together. What would be some of the other things that you'd like to share with us for the folks that are with us on the covenant itself or on what you're doing in your local churches?
I'd like to say that I think that we're, as leaders, being catalysts in the community for working together. And that is not something that we can take for granted because it's so easy to have disagreements when you're a diverse people. But when we get together, we're able to roll up our sleeves, work together, get the job done. And that draws in people to work with us and makes for a difference.
I agree. And Brenda, I'm sure you would ditto that as well.
I would. And some of the other things that Pastor Anne Marie, Pastor Leitch, and Father Eisworth, people in our community, we're going to offer some divorce ministry options through the Catholic Church. But I emailed the leaders that were involved and said, would this be something that would also be open to especially our Lutheran brothers and sisters, and emphatically got back a big yes as a response. So again, it's a social issue. We've talked about maybe having some parenting classes locally in Warren. Those would certainly be issues, again, that we can draw together on. One of the other very exciting things to me was in reading and again preparing for this today is that our American churches are actually looking for ways to get together to celebrate Eucharist together. And so that's another starting to really look for unity. Are we making progress? I think the answer is a big yes, and that our Pope is definitely working toward getting into ecumenical conversations himself and encouraging everybody in our parishes and locally to do that. It's part of our pastoral plan to continue in ecumenical activities. So these are all things that are very exciting, I think, as we look toward the future in ministry.
Well, certainly each year as we celebrate the Catholic Lutheran covenant, we look at those milestones as we look back on the things that we have done as congregations, as people of faith, and we continue to look forward to those other things, as you had mentioned, that will continue to unite us together. So thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Have a good day, and God be with you.
Spotlight has been a production of CTNY, the Catholic Television Network of Youngstown. Your program host was Father James Corda.
Jesus.